No, I always do that. Sorry, I'm always gonna be a little bit early just to like make sure everything is streaming fine because sometimes I have internet problems.
Right.
But when we schedule, it's still always gonna be the same. And I mean, unless like, something happens or something. Um, what's good, man?
Hey,
Uh-oh. Speaking of, let me try.
I'm just chilling. Am I cutting out?
No, no, it's on me. I turned off my Wi-Fi though, so it's or I turned off my Wi-Fi
Yeah.
on my
Let
phone,
me.
so hopefully that helps.
Yeah. Let me disconnect the Wi-Fi on my phone real quick. I gotta. It's
All right,
plugged in.
cool, cool. All right. Should be good.
Yeah, man.
All right. Well, let's
Yeah. Zoom takes so much bandwidth. You just got to make sure
yeah,
everything's.
honestly, I mean, I kind of want to ask people if they want to do this stuff on Discord because Discord never has the same bandwidth issues as Zoom. Zoom is an old crotchety old man. Everybody uses me. I must be the best option. Oh,
It's funny
Jesus.
because they've made so much money during the pandemic and they never made their program any better.
No, I mean, everyone was like, oh, yeah, this must be the best option to do literally everything with,
It's
even though
not.
no, it's 100% not. I think I'm coming in a little loud. Am I? I think I'm
No, you're good. Yeah,
okay. Good.
it's one of the worst programs I've ever used.
It's dog shit, but here we are using it right now to have a conversation. So who wins?
Yeah.
1 second. We actually have two questions so far from Brent Sills. I mean, usually I just start this thing off, but usually we don't have two questions. So doing some notes for a show tonight. What you guys doing? Brent, right now we're just having what I like to do. I like to do these pre-show interviews. So I like to get to know the comedian, even if I already know them. I like to just have a conversation with them. Shoot the shit, talk about comedy, talk about life. Not a whole lot of real expectations or anything.
No,
It's
I mean,
oh, it's you playing the video, the live stream.
yeah, my bad. I forgot to mute the tab. I just saw it. I just was gonna look at the questions.
No, no problem. Oh, I should probably like the thing as well. I will do the same. But yeah, hopefully that answers your question, Brent. But anyways, Chris, how's it going? What's good in the hood?
Oh, I just had breakfast, just had some coffee, so I'm ready to,
Ready to roll.
yeah, ready to continue with my day.
See, love it when the fucking the roll in the R and roll is all like, yeah, ready to go. Yeah. Man, you have a coffee podcast though, right?
Yeah, I do. I have a podcast called Coffee Sip with
Mm-hmm.
Chris Hudson. Been doing that since mid-April, like pretty much right after the pandemic broke out.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I used to do when I was living in Baltimore. I did a podcast with two other comedians called Lucky Charm City, and it was
Mm-hmm.
just about cereal. We reviewed cereal, we talked to people about cereal, and it was really really fun. And then one of the other comics on the podcast, he moved outside DC. I was going to move to Portland.
Mm-hmm.
The other comic, the third comic, she was kind of like, you know, not really like feeling like having to do a podcast. I don't know if she's really into podcasts, like doing podcasts.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like we all kind of split, into these
I
different
see.
directions. And then I wanted to start, and then I was like, well, I want to do another podcast. I just want to keep doing podcasts because podcasts are at the end of the day they're fun. They're fun to do if
They are a lot of fun. Yeah.
So I was like, well, I don't want to keep doing cereal because like I actually kind of stopped eating cereal. But
Is that like a conscious decision? Like this makes me think of too many memories. It's nostalgic.
well, like I'm 32, and you got to make a decision at some point of
Mm.
what you're going to continue to do. so I
Yeah,
don't.
that's a good point.
So I don't drink anymore. I don't eat cereal. Like that part of those parts of my life are done, I think.
That's such a random duo of things to quit. You know, like I don't drink no more. I'm off the horse. I don't do cereal. Like you don't do like what?
Yeah, man. Cereal's like a drug, dude. Like it's got tons of sugar in it, and like I used to buy multiple boxes and mix different cereals. I used to eat cereal.
Oh,
I used to eat cereal at all times of the day. There's a reason I had a cereal podcast, you know.
I understand. Okay, so no, it was actually a problem. No, some people, I think a lot more people than would be willing to admit have a sugar addiction. Definitely. I definitely have one. Oh, hold on. I wanted to say something. Brent has got to go, but he was mentioning that he wants to check out the podcast. What's the name of the podcast again?
Coffee Sip with Chris Hudson. You can find it on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Ghana if you're in India. Yeah.
Apple Podcasts. Sorry, I'm just putting all that stuff here. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Ghana. Is Ghana G-A-N-A?
Ghana is Gaana.
A-A-N-A. Okay, got it. All right.
Double A.
All right.
Yeah, I think people can use that internationally. I know it's like the Spotify of India, and they've been trying to get a lot of content. So they asked if they could add my podcast, and I was like, sure, yeah. What like,
dude, what if you have like an enormous following in India? What if there's like kids with like your face on them, like I can just like repping your merch? Oh my gosh.
I could, man. Sometimes I look at the numbers and I'm not sure where
it's coming from.
Right, exactly. I'm not sure where it's coming from. I mean, when Spotify, because I have a stand-up album on Spotify, and they do they do like an artist wrapped, and so they'll tell you what track was the most popular, and they told me that the album was the most popular in Australia.
Really?
So,
I mean, kudos to you, pecans to you. You got an album. They're popular down under.
Right. Shout out to anybody in Australia. You know, tell your local, because see, Australia, they actually they're open. They're like 100%. They're done. Like they don't have the COVID there. So like, hey, if your club, go to your local comedy club or venue that does comedy and be like, hey, look, we love this guy. We will all come out to see him. Get me booked in Australia. Let's do it,
dude. Let's make this happen for you, Chris. Let's get you out and let's get you on that other side of the hemisphere. Let's get you in the south side of the world.
Yeah, that's what they call it, the south side.
Yo, I'm going to we'll come down to the south side. Oh, like near Compton? No, not there. Not Third Ward. You ever been to Perth?
I'm going to the south side of Earth.
South side Earth. That's when we get like Mars like civilizations. Like we will refer to the south side as like the Earth, south side of the Earth. So it's aspirational. Oh my God. So when you first started comedy, when did you start thinking about things in terms of an album? When were you starting to like think, okay, this is all connecting, this is all something I can put onto one thing?
Well, it was something I wanted to do before I moved away from Baltimore, because like I had a certain following in Baltimore and like the DMV area, and I had all of these jokes and bits and some like longer chunks. Like I had a lot of like longer chunks that were like kind of like stories about Baltimore, like all these little jokes about Baltimore, about like being from Baltimore, some stuff that's happened to me in Baltimore and stuff like that. And then I also had some other jokes that kind of fit into a lot of that material. There's a lot of Baltimore heavy jokes in there because I recorded it in Baltimore, and I was like, I thought that was the best time to put those jokes kind of out there, because you can't really like, I can do jokes about Baltimore outside of Baltimore, but some of those jokes, some of the references were so specific. Literally, I think I did. I tagged up one part of the joke about like these teenagers trying to. I have a bit about these teenagers trying to rob me, which they were like honestly probably more like preteens. And,
yeah.
And I say a thing in there like something like don't try to hit a lick on me. I'm with the shits. And it's like literally like people there were audience members who were like from West Baltimore who have heard that like 1,000 times.
Don't try to put a lick on me. I'm in the shits.
Yeah, don't try to hit a lick on me. It's like hit a lick means you're
to lick somebody is to hit somebody. Yeah.
Yeah, hit a lick, I'm with the shits. And it's literally like I could see who in the audience like had been around like parts of West Baltimore and stuff by like who responded to that. But if you live outside of like any kind of inner city like that where you hear that, it's just gonna go over your head. So it really was like it was an album with all this material that I was like, this is the ripest it's going to be. I'm about to move across the country and I want to have a record of this because this is what my life is like right now. And this is
it's a snapshot.
Yeah.
That's a really, well, so then I like that. I like that phrasing of turning your albums into these snapshots, because in my mind, I always think of them as just like, oh, it's like a creative work. You put everything into one thing. And it is a snapshot, but I just never used that wording in my head. So I think that's a really, I think it's accurate. It is, you're taking a picture of that moment and you're solidifying it. So you're from Baltimore initially, right?
Yeah.
So what made you move all the way to Portland then?
I came out here for a week back in 2019. I did a week of shows out here because pre-COVID, you used to be able to the Comedy Network pre-COVID. I think Displace has done a lot for comics as far as networking and finding out comics in other cities. But pre-COVID, literally like the way that you could book yourself is like your friend knows somebody in this city or you know somebody in this city. You hit up like all of the showcase. You find all the showcases on Facebook or their websites or whatever. You hit everybody up. You send them your avails. You do that for every show for a week. And I used to be able to just book myself out for a week in different cities and go do comedy.
Wow.
You used to be able to do that easily. Like it was like just go and do. That's how I used to go out on the road. Is I would just like send my avails and do it to a bunch of different bookers for the same time frame. And then you book yourself out for a few days or for a week, and then you would go rent an Airbnb for dirt cheap. You're sleeping in a part of a warehouse that's probably illegal, but like you're fucking doing comedy, bro.
But you're doing comedy. We're doing it.
Yeah. So I did that out here in Portland, and I really liked the scene out here. I really liked everybody's like attitude and work ethic, and I kind of preferred it a little bit to LA because like LA is a tough place to survive unless you're like staffed on a show or you already are in at clubs and shit. So
yeah,
I liked the pacing of Portland a little bit more, and it's a little bit more working class, even though it's still super liberal. So I was like, word.
Oh yeah, it's like blue collar meets blue. I don't know, blue. I was trying to think of something hipster. Blue vinyl cover. Fuck, I don't know. I
blue
tried.
Coffee.
yeah. There you go. The blue collar meets blue coffee. Yeah, exactly.
Blue mocha latte.
where Mark Maron meets Marion Berry. There you go. Oh, jeez.
Okay, that's an interesting image.
Well, Marion Berry. Wait, Marion Berries. That's a Portland thing, right? Marion Berries.
Oh, you mean like the fruit? I thought you meant the former mayor of DC that smoked crack.
Oh no! No,
like,
not the no. And to me, look, I'm like a little bit before your time, so to me, that's just crack mayor. I don't actually know his actual name. I just know the crackhead mayor of DC. I don't know his full name.
Marion, yeah, it was Marion Berry. That was
his name was Marion Berry.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought
That's
it
why
was
I
like,
was.
oh, okay. Yeah, no, I meant like the really bitter Portland native berry. You know, you guys put Marion berries on everything, right?
I've
It's like a
I've
maybe I'm
s- I,
totally full of it.
I've seen it, but it's I blackberries are huge. There's blackberry bushes everywhere in
Blackberries.
Portland.
Okay,
Yeah.
then where am I getting? Because I could maybe it's just whatever. We're not going to talk about botany right now. That's not
No,
why we're here. That's not
I kind
what.
Yeah, I kind of get it why you would think Marionberry, because Marionberries are like exclusive and rare enough to like hold above the other berries. And like I feel like Portland does give off that vibe a
Yeah,
little bit of like, yeah, we have this berry that maybe you haven't heard of. Like,
yeah, no, 100%, 1,000,000%. That's what I thought. And like when I was there, I guess the people that I was staying with were just like Marion Berry aficionados, and so they were
oh
just like,
yeah.
"Oh yeah, we put that on everything. We've got Marion Berry pie. We've got Marion Berry preservatives. We just Marion Berry, Marion Berry." So, that's a little visual joke. Will be lost on the recording. I usually put these on SoundCloud, but I'm
Okay,
trying to,
cool, cool.
yeah, trying to break the mold a little bit.
That's what's up. I could
But
now
so
I
you
can
moved to
say I have a
Portland. You
mixtape.
like the culture. Yeah, you do. You 100% have a mixtape. You can drop it and it's hot, and you can drop it like this.
My bad. I didn't mean to interrupt your question.
Jesus. So one thing that really interests me about you, though. Oh no, go ahead. I think you're cut. I think there's a delay between us.
Oh, is there?
Yeah, right there. There it is. No, I think that might just be the distance or whatever. But we'll just have to. I'll just have to say something and then wait, and then say something else. But one thing that really interests me about your kind of persona is you're a very nice person, which is, maybe that should interest me as much, but I guess I just have this image in my head of like really jaded, really kind of unhelpful older comedians, just because I'm a pretty young comedian, and talking to people like you or Winston or Ashwin, you guys are a little bit ahead of me in a lot of respects, and it's interesting that you guys are. It's very.
Oh dang. Did I cut out?
I don't know. I mean, is that something that you think about at times?
Uh-oh.
Is my audio coming through?
Yeah, I heard like half your question.
Oh, I was just asking, like, do you think that you being such a helpful dude kind of in the scene, you think that's just your personality, or do you kind of have like in your head, like, I'm at this point in comedy, other people are maybe at this point in comedy, like, let me, you know, be chill, be a cool guy.
Yeah, I think it depends on people's personalities. I mean, obviously there are people who are very like super super egotistical and they see themselves at like different levels. Uh
Mm-hmm.
and they don't want to like a lot of times comics that are certain levels literally just do not have time to like go out of their way to like help people or whatever, or like give people advice or whatever. They just don't have time because people are busy. I mean, especially with the pandemic, and now it's like you can't rely on like live shows or whatever. You have to be doing all of these other things. And so there's definitely, I feel like it's a thing of time for a lot of comics. I don't feel like it's like they think they're above things. There are comics like that, of course, but I think it's like comics who are willing to give their time um
Mm-hmm.
to like help out. And also it's like it's I feel like it has a big thing to do with like community and everything, because there are plenty of comics who have helped me out, and it's just like returning the favor. It's like I forget who said it, but somebody said like during the pandemic, like we've all just been Venmoing each other the same $20. It's like that kind of thing.
That's very true. Yeah. Yeah. That's a really good way of putting it. I mean, I think, well, and it's also like, I like talking about comedy. And so, you know, if I was at your position, or even like being just a year and change, and if someone is just coming into it, I want to talk for hours about it. You know, like, these are my favorite comedians. Who are your favorite comedians? How do you write jokes? What do you like to write about? But like, that shit is interesting to me, regardless of what level, you know. And I'll talk about people who are like 20 years in about that sort of thing. I mean, that's what I love about Clubhouse, is you get to, you see that same kind of like childlike, like, let's just geek out about this one thing, never really goes away. Like, everybody is just like, you know, exploding about the same comedians, or talking about the same stuff. And, you know, it's just like, you're part of this super intense club. You know, of course I'd want to talk about it. So, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I remember I think last spring or summer we were socially distanced outside of an outdoor show, and I think
Mhm.
I think I think Chappelle had just done SNL. It was either Chappelle or Burr, but like everybody started talking about their like monologue set, and
Well, I think it was
everybody
Burr.
like
Yeah, I think it was Burr.
yeah, okay, it was Burr, but we like everybody started talking about his monologue set outside, and it's like comics of all different levels and experience, and like this comic's been on NBC, this comic's been to Montreal, but we're all talking about Burr just from the
Mm-hmm.
standpoint of we love comedy. We saw him do this in the set. Did you see when he was like this? Did you see him kind of brush this joke off? And he kind of like went because like I feel like when you do stand up, you watch comedy differently, and so you will see how a set is going and what they're doing to kind of navigate it, and that's what people geek out on.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Exactly. It's one second, I gotta respond to this. Does 1.5 work? Sorry, I have a thing to coordinate, but absolutely. Kind of geeking out about stuff, I think, is what really connects. That's sort of the connecting tissue of a lot of these people, is, you know. And it's also, I mean, it's like anything that's like art or like science. I mean, I do both, but in the sense, it's like, if you aren't really, 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 really fucking into it, you just won't, you know, it just won't be worth it, you know. So you have to be balls to the wall, and you want everyone to around you to be balls to the wall about it, because it is kind of worth being balls to the wall about.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think I always say um like if you don't if you're not enjoying it, like why are you doing it, right? Like
Exactly.
at some level you enjoy it, which is why you keep doing it. You enjoy doing it because every now and then you'll get a show that's like you're like, wow, like I felt like I was on, right?
Mm-hmm.
I felt like everything was connecting. I was connecting with these people, and all of my jokes kind of flowed into each other. So you have those moments, and if you're not enjoying that, if you're not getting anything out of it, then like you probably shouldn't be doing it, because the money's not guaranteed, and
Mm-hmm.
you advancing in your career is definitely not guaranteed. So if you don't enjoy it, if you're not doing it because you enjoy it, then in my opinion, you don't have to do it, dog.
No, nobody. We don't need more comedians. It's
No.
it's fine. We could stop right now, and it would be fucking fine. We Yeah.
COVID has given everyone an out. If you wanted to get out, this is the time. This is the no
Oh,
one is
absolutely.
calling anybody out for just fading away. I know people. I know comics, and I'm not going to name names. I'm not going to name names because I'm not trying to shame anybody. But I know comics who are just like,
Mm-hmm.
I just want a life now, and they're just like they deleted everything. They've just kind of disappeared, and no one's asking questions because you shouldn't. Because sometimes people are just like, all right, I think I did what I wanted to do, and now I want to do this, and that's completely fine. Like people have such a stigma around like, oh, quitting, you should, people tell each other they should quit all the time, but it's like if you want to get out of it, if you
Mm-hmm.
don't, or if you're not getting any value out of it, then like that's the best time to exit, because you know, you need to be getting something out of it, right? Like you can't just be
Exactly.
everyone's like working and working, like I want to get all these jokes so I can do this and do this and do this. It's like you're sure you can get that show, but if you still feel like you're not getting anything out of it, like it's gonna be empty as fuck, and like you just put in all that work for what?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, it is, like I said, I mean, the world doesn't need more comedians. The world doesn't need, I mean, I don't say the world doesn't need you, but it's like, you're fine. I mean, if you take yourself out of the equation, it's, it's fine. You know, you're a-okay. And I think one thing that's shown me, okay, like this is what I will put all of my effort into, if if given the opportunity to just do whatever the fuck I want with my time, because I have a lot of free time, my energy, and you know, obviously I have school, but you know, just well, you know, you should see my GPA. But the point is that the point is that it is just this thing that I've decided to put a lot of my eggs into, and yeah, I think you shouldn't shame someone for doing that, and much less the same way you shouldn't judge someone for wanting to just be like, I think I'm done. I think I've said what I needed to do. Yeah, 100%. So with that being said, I mean, do you find that because not much is open, nothing's going on, do you find that it's a little harder to write just because new experiences are so hard to come by?
I I have written a lot during this past year, which I think a lot of people have, just because you know the virtual shows, and I really didn't, you know, when the lockdown first happened and all these virtual shows started popping up, I didn't want to go into them with the material I had before the pandemic hit, because I don't know how everybody else felt, but it feels disingenuous to do a story that couldn't happen now.
Yes. Yes.
Like life changed so much for everyone that it's like all that stuff doesn't even feel like it feels like it doesn't even
Possible.
right, but it feels like it doesn't even apply. So I was in a place where I was like, shit, I need to start like looking around me and like processing what's happening and kind of talk about what, like, you know, joke about what we're all going through, because at the end of the day, isn't that what, you know, stand-ups are doing, is just like looking like, hey, look how stupid this thing is that's happening to all of us. Like, isn't that kind of what we're doing? Like,
Mhm.
I felt like it would have been,
Yeah.
I felt like it would have been a little disingenuous to be like, you know, going into it with jokes that it's like, are you not going to talk about the like giant shotgun everyone has
Biggest,
to their head?
yeah, to their face. Yeah, exactly. The fucking elephant in the elephant in the china shop with the shotgun to your forehead. Like, let's talk about this.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but then the second question I have on top of that is, well, but then how much is too much? You know, how much is talking about it too much? How much is acknowledging it too much? Like, okay, we fucking get it. Masks are weird. Dating is hard. Blah 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 blah. So like, what's the other side of that? What's the other side of that equation?
Right. Yeah. You don't want to harp on it too long. That's true. I think the other side of that equation is you can kind of go. I think a lot of comics will structure their sets, and I try to do this too, where you kind of go from general to specific. So you can talk about how masks are weird, or how, you know, Zoom workplaces are weird now, or whatever. But you can kind of funnel that into, well, my coworker. I had a comedian friend the other night. He told a joke about how his coworker got fired on Zoom, and it's like,
Ooh.
right, but it's like that's like a personal story turned into a joke. I feel like that's where you can kind of filter it more into, well, here's what's been happening in my life, and kind of focusing less on like, isn't the fact that this is happening weird, more like uh more like personalized, you know, more like a personalized
Yeah.
kind of take on it. That's where you can kind of get out of it a little bit and maybe even talk about some other things. or like your own experience of what's happening, it's hard not to talk. It's honestly, it's hard not to talk about it, because if you don't talk about it, then it's like, does he not know what's going on?
He's just been gone. It's like
Right.
the fucking space capsule lands like, I have my Type 5. What's going on?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think what's interesting about that is you say going from, yeah. What's interesting about that, oh man, this lag is going to kill me. What's interesting about what you said from like general to specific is I usually go the opposite. So I usually take, like, well, okay, what are masks? Okay, masks are, people trying to stay safe and trying to, keep each other from, harm's way. And then like, okay, well then what kind of wearing seatbelts, doing this, doing that. And so I see the pandemic almost as a way to be like, well, okay, yeah, there's all this stuff that's specific to this situation, but this actually isn't that different. We've had pandemics before, we've had disasters before. This is just a new flavor of the same shit Sunday we've been scarfing down since we came down from the trees. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Yeah. So you have a particular bent to your act where like, hey, people have been dying for a long time, folks. Like,
what's hey, you can leave right now, but what's the fucking difference? Nah.
You might go out. You might go outside, get hit by a car. We're all dying.
Where it's all gonna fucking happen. No, I'm not nearly that happy. The only bit I have about, and this is not a podcast where I feel like I have to run all my material, but I can be a little self-indulgent because it is mine, so I can do whatever the fuck I want. No, the only thing about the pandemic that I have written really is it's just a very inconvenient disaster because it never really stops. Like if a volcano goes off, it fucking kills 200,000 people, like, boom, we're done. Okay, cool. But like right now, the pandemic is sort of like waiting in lava just all the time. You're kind of just like, oh shit, my feet burn. Okay, well, that's the DMV for you. So that's that's the only bit I have about it. It's just the pandemic is just, it's a disaster, but it's like the bureaucrat of disaster. It's like, can I pencil you in for, it's like, how does next Tuesday for you to, get off the ventilator sound? It's like, that doesn't really work for me, but
Yeah.
It's not a very,
you think the pandemic is taking too long.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, well, I think everybody thinks that, but it's like, just even this pandemic, just any pandemic is always going to be really slow, and you don't really know when it starts. Like when it starts, it's like an explosion, but then it kind of like carries over, and then there's like lasting effects, and then there's resurgences, and it's just like, oh my god, when a hurricane fucking hits, it gets its shit over with. But a pandemic is like, it's very nebbish. It's like the nebbish, it's like the
right.
I don't know. I'm thinking of like all the calamities in Greek history and shit, or Greek mythology, and it's just like I don't know.
Yeah, I do like your DMV analogy, because they'll pencil you in for 6 months from now, and you're like, it's like we just keep rescheduling the same appointment.
Exactly. So I mean, so that's the only thing I have on it. I also had a very, very, very bad bit about how Corona is an alcohol. So now I think other alcohols should name themselves after different diseases, like Mike SARS Lemonade or Mumps and Cola.
Yeah, there's going to be a whole wave of like there's going to be a whole wave of like COVID hack material that, a year or two from now, it's all going to be hacked, but it's all like timing, right? And of course people are going to be tired of hearing about it, and you shouldn't make your whole act about it. I mean, I've started doing material that I had pre-pandemic, of course, because it's like people would go insane if all you do is just talk about, the horror. It's like my mom called me like in the middle of this whole pandemic thing when New York was getting it really bad, and all she does is watch the news. So she called me and she was like, "But the body's in the street, Christopher. But the body's in the street." And I'm like, "Mom, can we not do that? Stop it. Stop watching the news.
Oh,
Stop calling me and telling me about all the bodies you keep seeing, because this is not, we need to do something. You need to stop watching." Like, so nobody wants to hear that 24/7. And I get that, but I at least think that, like, you know, it is healthy to at least acknowledge it. And like, we're all in these little digital boxes. Like, we can't not be like, yo, this is not like, we haven't had to do this before.
Yeah,
you know,
this is, and what's crazy to me is like when, and this is maybe me talking about like, it's maybe my own little insecurities, but when I talk to, you know, older comedians and they're super quick, I mean, it's like there's a lot of older comedians who are just like, okay, Zoom, Clubhouse, Discord, like, let's go. These are the new platforms. It's the same grind, different acts, you know. And so, ooh, I like that. Same grind, different. Anyway, sorry. That's point is
pretty good.
Like, thank you. But you know, it's there's some people who really embrace it. And then there's some people who are like, it doesn't fucking count. It's not the fucking same. You know, what are you getting out of it? And it's like, okay, can we realize for like 2 seconds that this is the greatest equalizer besides like death itself? Like every single like we're all in the same fucking pandemic, dude. Like nobody is like getting out of this. And so don't step up trying to say some shit like, you know, I've done this before. It doesn't fucking, it's like, no, you haven't. Literally no one in living memory has done any of this before, at least, you know, to this extent. And so it's like, oh my God, it kills me. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think all of these like platforms, you can get something out of all of them. You know, if you're going into it like, this is what I want to do, or this is what I want to get done, or whatever. When I tell some of my comedian friends, I have tons of comedian friends who like, you know, poo all over doing Zoom shows, who like, they hate Zoom shows, and I get that, and they poo all over. But then when I tell them, oh yeah, I did like a few showcases last week, and a few of them paid, they're like, what? You're getting paid? I'm like, dog, yeah, people are watching it. People are like participating. Like it's a thing. Like they feel like it's nothing. And then when you tell them that there is some substance to it, and you can make connections, you can
practice,
you know, get a little money here, get a little money there, and I'm doing it from my fucking bedroom. You know what I mean? So it's like, and it's like, you know, a lot of times I'll you know, I do a fair amount of Zoom mics, but that's all just me like workshopping my writing. And that's what I tell comics, and they're like, oh, that's really smart. You just workshop on Zoom, and then you go and you do the outdoor shows, and you bring polished stuff over there that are new jokes. It's like, yeah, dog, what do you think I'm doing?
This is the
whole process.
Yes. Oh my God. At 100%. You know, it's so, I didn't realize that, you know what it was like? It's like, do you watch Naruto by any chance? Did you ever watch that as a kid?
No, I didn't. Dragon Ball Z though, for sure.
Dragon Ball Z. Okay, Dragon Ball Z. Okay, so you know, like, okay, hyperbolic time chamber. That's what this is. This is the fucking hyperbolic time chamber. Like I did a live show. I did 2 live shows, and I was so nervous before I went into there, because I was like, what if I'm atrophied? What if I don't know? But I have literally on my floor, I have tape that makes out a stage. And so whenever I'm performing with my mic, I have like a space that I can kind of stay focused. And I started out on Discord. So my delivery, as far as like verbal stuff, is it has to be very crisp, it has to be very clear, and so all these different like muscle groups you work out digitally, what would you believe it? They actually transfer over. Not completely. Obviously there's going to be a little, dip. But if you bring that whole thing up to the highest possible level, it's like you're doing yourself a disservice if you're not, it's like if everybody got a free exercise bike. It's like, okay, well, now here's your shot. Get after it, Lance Armstrong.
Right, yeah. Like, hey, now you can ride a bike outside. It's same muscles.
Yeah, exactly.
Using the same muscles. You're going to the hyperbolic chamber. You're going to come out, and people are going to be like, "How did he go Super Saiyan 3? How did that happen?" Well, it's like he's He's got all that. He got all the energy from the freaking chamber, dude. He was in there for
Yeah.
weeks.
You didn't see me at fucking Chris Hudson's pop-up mic just fucking just getting my guts ripped out by the Pelicans, fucking, or what were they? It's what was it? Prometheus gets his liver kicked out. Whatever. The point is that, I'm getting fucking eaten alive by these Zoom, vultures, just so that I can, exactly. And also what really is cool is like my scene is huge. So I get to see some of the hardest working, talented people on the internet as much as just in the comedy community. And so it's like, Jesus Christ. I mean, just across the fucking pond, these fucking gurus are just banging out bangers. And it's like, okay, all right. Okay. That's what I got to do now,
Yeah. I mean, it's like, you gotta work it however you can. And with the lack of, in-person things, you're going to gravitate towards whatever people are watching, wherever people are going. That's where, if you want to keep working, that's where you're going to go. There are going to be some people that come out of this pandemic do in-person shows, and they're going to be doing the same act they were doing in 2019. And you know what? More power to them. But me personally, I can't come out of this without any kind of awareness of the past. 1.5 years, 2 years, whenever the other end of this with more in-person stuff's going to be. It's like, I'm going to come out a different person. So I feel like I need an act that reflects that, because I'm not 2019 me, No,
you're not. No, you're absolutely not. I mean, it's like, what? Let things change. Let yourself evolve. Let this art, because like nobody owns anything. Nobody owns the internet. Nobody owns comedy. Nobody owns anything. And so just like, let it breathe, let it change, let it evolve. And I run into trouble because I've gotten into some fucking knockdown, drag out fights with some of these old geezers. I'm like, you fucking don't understand the fucking new generation. It's changing. This is our time kind of thing. And that's not the best way to approach a lot of these conversations. But it's also like, you gotta, there's a mixture that needs to happen, right? You need the old sober wisdom with like the young sort of like trailblazing, hell-raising, verve, if you will.
Yeah, it's I mean, I've definitely seen a difference with like, younger, newer comedians compared to like when I was brand new, because there's so many more resources. Comedy is like stand-up is literally everywhere, super accessible. You can put together a well-written, tight 5 minutes way easier now compared to like 10 years ago, because you have so many people online that are reachable. You can springboard jokes off of Zoom. You can get writing tips. There are like 1,000 million different resources, and so much stand-up. People can consume so much, like an insane amount of stand-up, to the point where they can in their first year, they can have a nice 5 to 10 minutes that's like well written, and they've kind of worked on their stage presence and all that. None of that guidance really was around 10 to 15 years ago at all. You were just getting up and fucking blindly doing what you thought was stand-up.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh yeah. I mean, and that's the thing, is like, even before the pandemic, I was thinking about this sort of stuff as like from like a surgical standpoint. I was like, okay, why did that set not work? Let's take these jokes back. Okay. And I would like run them by people. I would literally call people on the phone and be like, hey, so I've got like this 2-minute bit. Can you please hear it? I'd send people voice recordings of 5-minute sets I was going to do on Discord. I was treating Discord like I was like a fucking Live at the Apollo, and I was talking to Lauren Michaels like, hey, just making sure this is well produced, But the thing is like that level of just like anal, like everything needs to be good, I think served me well. And also with just the amount of resources, it's like, I don't want to say you treat everything like the best possible thing you could do, but like, damn it, if you do that, it does pay off.
By the way, Lauren Michaels would completely ruin Live at the Apollo. That's just
Oh, yeah,
my opinion. I don't know if you should give that man Live at the Apollo. I
I think
feel like
you should give that man Saturday Night Live.
Hey, look, SNL is this is me trying to get a writing job at SNL. SNL is pretty good, man. Like,
and Lauren, you've got the nicest dick I think in New York City.
but yeah, like, yeah. I mean, you're doing. See, here's the thing. A lot of like the older comics, a lot of the more established comics, they don't talk about it, but they do the same thing that you're talking about. They call their friends and run bits. They like, are like, hey, what do you think of this? They're standing in the back. They used to stand in the back of clubs, bounce jokes off of each other. Hey, do you think this premise has any legs? Like all there are so many comics, and we all have friends, and we just kind of like, you have friends that you bounce bits off of, and they don't talk about it, but that's what they do. That's how they generate material. They give each other tags, they give each other directions. I've definitely gotten tags and like joke structure directions from friends of mine. I've given tag, like it's all like a collaborative thing. And a lot of times, like, older, more established comedians sometimes want to act like, oh yeah, this was all me. But it's like,
no, it
we
wasn't.
all know, right?
Shut the hell up.
Yeah, we all have the same, like, no matter how long you've been doing it, every now and then you'll get like a thought, or you'll write a joke, and literally it could be just your own insanity coming out, and you won't know that until you start bouncing it.
Mm. No, you're absolutely right. And it's also just like, I mean, I heard one of the nicest things. It was on, I think it was like Comedy Cellar, Clubhouse. I think it was like the Comedy Cellar, like, has maybe a Clubhouse thing, or maybe it's called the Comedy Cellar, but it's actually the Laugh Factory that has, I don't know, it's very confusing.
Yeah, it's the
Comedy
Laugh
Lounge
Factory's thing. Yeah, it's Laugh Factory.
Yes, yeah, there you go. So I was on there last night, and when they reset the room, they were like, okay, I want everybody to know this is for everybody to have this conversation. Okay, you're not just listening to two, old farts talk about shit. Like, jump in, share your piece. If you've got a bit that you're working out, if you have a story, like, this is and they specifically said, we're all equal. Of course, like, if we're being really anal, of course not everyone is equal. Some people are in LA fucking throwing albums on the table like hotcakes, and some people are, struggling open micers and literally anywhere else. But it's true that we are equalized by the circumstances.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Yeah, equalized by the circumstances, but not equal in access. I think that's the big difference.
Mm. No, that's a very good point. That's a very good. I mean, yeah.
Access. Like, they have access to more connections. They have access to, there are clubs that are putting on virtual showcases. So if you've worked that club previously, they might reach out to you to be on that showcase. There's more access to more opportunities. We're equalized in circumstances, but not in access. And I feel like that's the big difference.
No. Yeah. You're absolutely right. I mean, but it is, it does strike me as interesting, like, how many degrees of separation are actually between you and like a good comedian. Like, I consider you a fairly good comedian.
That's a very funny question. I mean, that's a very funny, like, yeah.
I mean, you know what I mean? It's interesting to me that, like, I'm talking directly to you. Like, in this situation, there's literally no degrees of stuff. Like, it's literally you, me, boom. It's not like I know a guy who knows you.
Oh, right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, technically we do know a lot of the same people.
No, well, yeah, but you know what I mean? Like, the extent of our relationship is not, oh, I know X, who knows Chris. It's like, no, I know Chris, and I can ping Chris, and I can talk to Chris directly.
Right.
And that to me is fucking wild. It's still wild. It's because, like, I've done it. All of this has just been like bleep bloop internet shit. You know what I mean? This is literally just me using Facebook, using Discord, using Zoom, just like shooting out my my digital seed onto the virtual sowing field and growing these I'm sorry, maybe not the best way to put it.
You're shooting out your digital comm all over everyone's face.
Yeah, my showcase.
Yeah, man, it's the internet. It's the internet. It's a place where you can shoot your shot to anybody, and pretty much anything can happen from that. I mean, I remember what is it, 2005, 2006 on MySpace. I remember I had a friend. It's back. Was it 2005, 2006? It was okay. It was in the past, but it was on MySpace, right?
Yeah, it would have been 2005 probably.
The year doesn't matter. I think I had just started doing stand up, so it was definitely later than that. But I remember I had a friend that a comic that was trying to he was trying to get on a Patton Oswalt show because Patton Oswalt was coming through Baltimore, and he did this like sending so many tweets to him and everything and whatever, and kind of harassing him a little bit. And I remember he blocked all these people. I think I got blocked too. And I just shot him a message like, hey, I had just started comedy, I think. So I didn't understand what, like, any kind of decorum, right? I was just like, oh, you just like do whatever. And you're like, oh, you could. So, and I remember he responded with like a long essay about why what my friend did was why he reacted the way he did. And I was like, holy shit, like Patton Oswalt just like gave me his own version of the Atlantic piece about comedy. But I just like simply sent a message like dude, I'm sorry, I don't know what I'm doing, like I'm new to comedy, like whatever. And he just like, so it's like you can just maybe I was wrong before, there is access to people, to like comedians for sure with the internet. You can just message any comedian and they might not respond, but they might respond and give you a nugget or be like, give you some kind of response. Yeah, you might have some kind of conversation. I mean, you won't get things unless you ask for them. I think that's
yeah. I mean, this booker I'm working with in Pittsburgh was like, the worst they can tell you is no.
Right.
And that's the one thing that really like fills me with like fucking pioneer spirit is like, this pandemic has taught me 100% that if you don't see a road, fucking pick up your pickaxe and just choo through the mountain. I mean, that's sort of what show aesthetic is, and in a way, is it's me just being like, okay, how can I meet as many good comedians as possible? How can I get them all in one place? And how can I reliably have a 5 to 10 minute set of my own that a lot of people will be watching? And it's like, oh, I know what I'll do. I'll just literally fucking open a Zoom room. That's what I'll do. And I mean, I've put a lot of effort into making like promotional material, blah, 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 blah. But like, it did just kind of come down to wanting to do things myself. And I think that's one thing that has been sort of the blessing in disguise about this whole situation is like the door was kind of always open and the key was kind of always in your hands. And as long as you're willing to put some effort into, I mean, I don't want to be a bad comedian, but it's also like this other stuff is there available to me and everybody else really as well.
Yeah, I mean, for sure, starting your own consistent showcase is a good way to, do all of that. Get time, network with other comedians. I mean, that's what I did back in Baltimore. In 2013, I started my own showcase at a venue. And then it ran for over 6 years. And I met so many comedians. I did so much time because I was hosting every showcase. Mm-hmm. I had comedians headlining that went on to be on Comedy Central. They went on to go to Montreal and do Just for Laughs. And it's like being a part of that ecosystem and learning like you literally are learning comedy with each show. You learn something new. I mean, that's really how I learned comedy, was having my own showcase for over 6 years, doing consistent sets, the promotion, watching other comedians who were further along in the game kind of do their thing in this scenario that I set up. So it was like, it's all like a boon, a benefit. And it does take a lot of work, but it's that you get so much firsthand experience from doing that, that kind of sets you up for the rest of however you want to navigate your comedy career.
Yeah, no, exactly. We do have to get out of here soon. But before we do, so you had the coffee, oh gosh, I just had it just a minute ago. Coffee Sip with Chris Hudson on various platforms. Is there anything else you'd like to plug?
Well, I'll go ahead and plug. I do have an album out, released back in 2019. 2019, Chris. There's an album
From the past.
Yeah, it has a lot of DMV heavy references, but it's still, I feel like, universally relatable. It's called It'll Probably Be Fine, which is a very funny title for an album now, looking back on it.
When I first saw it, I was like, did he release this year? What the fuck is wrong with it?
2019, dude. I'm like psychic. I was just like, I felt like something was coming. But yeah, it's called It'll Probably Be Fine. It's on Spotify, Tidal, Apple, Bandcamp, if you would like to purchase a copy, which I always pitch that with like, if you would like to purchase a copy of my album, it's on Bandcamp, and then you get to keep it forever, even if I delete it later. Wow. Ooh, that's a deal.
Okay. I kind of want to get it on Bandcamp. I love Bandcamp.
Yeah, I have it on Bandcamp. It's called It'll Probably Be Fine. And then everything else can be found on my website, which is chrishudson.co.
Got it. Okay, got it. Okay, good. Well, we've got a show. You and I and 5 other comedians have a show this Tuesday night at 9 o'clock Eastern time. That's 6 o'clock Pacific Standard. I'm super excited to have you on. I think you've been on one of the Aesthetic mics before, but I don't think you've been on Show Aesthetic yet.
I was on like one of the first, when you were transitioning it into a showcase. It was like one of the first ones where you were still transitioning, because you had a lineup, and I remember, I think I might have closed it out. I think I did like 10 minutes or something, 10 or 15. I don't remember.
That sounds right. That does sound right. So, yeah. I mean, like, there is that kind of transitional period where it was, I think we did about 3 Aesthetic mics, and then the 4th one I was like, let me choose people, and then the 5th one I think I called Show Aesthetic. Is how you changed it.
Yeah, you rebranded because you realized you needed some separation between like a mic and a showcase.
This is very true. Yes, feels like I'm growing so much.
Yeah, man.
Into a sleepy booker.
Yeah, man. You were molding it into what it is now. I'm honored to be part of the transitionary team there.
Yeah. You're a pioneer, son. All right. Well, I'll have this up on YouTube in about within the next 24 hours or so, and then it'll also be on SoundCloud. If you want a master copy of it too, to just chop and screw or whatever, I can give you that as well. Thank you. All right. Peace.
All right. Thank you.